Paul Winkler, and I'm here to interview Michael Napier to find out what inspires him to become a filmmaker.
Excellent. I'm happy to be here to answer all your questions.
My first question is, Mike, what made you want to get into the film business and become a filmmaker?
That's an interesting question. Being a filmmaker has always been a dream of mine since I was very young. When I was 5 years old, my parents were in Vegas for their honeymoon, and I had burnt my hand on a curling iron, and my mom was furious that it happened. So, because my grandparents felt so bad, they decided to take me to Jurassic Park, to the old Berea Theater, which is no longer around, sadly. And my mom was furious when she found out about this later. But I remember seeing the film, and I remember being just in total amazement about what I was seeing. The dinosaurs, the way the movie was made, the filmmaking aspect of it, it just blew my mind. So when I got a little older, my grandfather gave me one of his old cameras, one that was sold at JCPenney, and I started making films with my friends. And I loved acting at first, but as I was spending more and more time behind the camera, I started loving the technical aspect of everything, the filmmaking aspect, what it took to make the film behind it instead of in front of it. So I think that made me want to become a filmmaker because from a very young age I enjoyed it so much that it just stuck with me, from now, 20 years later.
And how old were you when you made this decision, and what inspired you?
How old was I? I would say around 7 or 8 years old, and my biggest inspiration probably was Star Wars. I first experienced Star Wars when I was around that age. I remember getting the VHS tapes from the library and watching Episode 4, A New Hope, and that movie immediately grabbed me. And actually, that whole Star Wars saga sticks with me today as one of my biggest inspirations because George Lucas is such an inspirational filmmaker. The way he took Hollywood and ignored everything they said to him about making Star Wars and it couldn't be done. He did it, and he made it happen and made it one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. So he's my biggest inspiration, and so is that film.
What are some of your past experiences?
Past experiences. Well, back in 2008, I had worked with some Baldwin Wallace students on a small budget film called The Agency Pursuit of the Aries Virus. Very small budget. We used a cheap camera, but it was my first experience with a large group of people, working with a crew and actors that were going to school for that. And it was just a very fun experience for me. It was a learning experience, and from that point on, I did a second film after that and learned some more. And I went on to do The Agency 3, Deceived, the Time Travelers trilogy, and my newest film I just completed, The Meeting. And each film I have made, I have learned something new, and I go back and I watch, and each film I make turns out to be better than the last one, because each movie I'm learning something new about myself, camera techniques, how to work with a crew, how to work with actors, and I just look forward to working with more people in the future and just seeing how each film improves upon itself from my last one.
What styles of movies or something new can you bring to the business?
Some of the styles I want to bring back to Hollywood is that old style cinema feel. I miss the olden days with the... I love color films, don't get me wrong, but the black and whites had a certain noir feel to them and a certain old gritty style to them that was just fun. And I enjoyed them so much that some of that's missing from today's cinema. So I want to bring back old school Hollywood, back to original films, original ideas, no more reboots or reimagines. I mean, some of those are good, don't get me wrong, but it's time to come up with fresh ideas to give the audience something new. And I want to bring fresh ideas, old school Hollywood, and just that old school feel back to the audiences and enjoy new and creative stories.
What films have inspired you, and which ones are your favorite?
What films inspire me? Well, Star Wars definitely is one of them, and the Star Wars saga is my all-time favorite. So those films truly inspire me and are my favorites. But Jurassic Park being one, because my first film I saw in the theater was huge. Star Trek, too. The series was mind-blowing, too, and I love those films. I'm just a big sci-fi buff, but I'm the kind of guy that likes almost everything. minus foreign films. I'm not a big foreign film person, but I'm open to anything, and I like every kind of film, but the Star Wars films really are my true inspiration and my favorites.
And finally, what advice would you give any future filmmakers?
What advice can I give? Well, I know me personally. When I go on the set, I try to be intimate with my actors. I try to connect with them, see what they're thinking, and take their ideas on how they think they can make their character better. So I definitely recommend listening to your actors on how to improve their characters, because it's important to making a great film. And if you get too high in your head and you get too conceited and not willing to take new ideas, that will affect your film in the long run. And I think that affects the outcome and will make the film more selfish in your way. Yes, you got your way, but it didn't make the film better because your actors sometimes have very good advice, and so does your crew. But I think my last piece of advice is always be yourself. Make the films you want, make the films you believe in, and make the films that make you happy. The films that you know you would go see, the ones you would enjoy. If you go back and watch your film and you don't enjoy it, that means you didn't achieve the goal you made for the audience. You have to be your own critic first before anybody else. So remember that as well.
I thank you for your time, Mike, and I hope we can accommodate you in some way in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, and I appreciate you coming here, and I'm more than happy to come back anytime to talk more about this.